Good evening, and welcome to the Washington Township Board of Education Candidates Forum, sponsored by the President's Council of the Washington Township PTOs. My name is Barbara Kutcher, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Burlington County. I am pleased to be this evening's moderator. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization whose purpose is to encourage informed and active citizen participation in government. The League works to increase understanding of major public policy issues and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Elections and voting are core concerns for the League of Women Voters. Year in and year out, leagues are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and the positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. The League does not support political parties or candidates. Any use of the League name or footage from the debate, which is being recorded for online access by the Washington Township Public Schools, in campaign materials, literature, or advertising of any kind, has not been authorized by the League of Women Voters. League guidelines for forums are designed to encourage an exchange of ideas on issues. The League has adopted the following format for this evening's discussion. I will introduce the Board of Education candidates, who will then deliver opening statements of up to 90 seconds in duration in ballot order. Then the candidates, in rotating order, will be given an opportunity to respond to questions that have been pre-screened for wording and content. Each candidate will be given 75 seconds to respond, with rebuttal time of 30 seconds awarded at my discretion. During the final segment of the forum, each candidate will deliver a closing statement of up to 60 seconds in duration in reverse ballot order. The League of Women Voters volunteer is acting as forum timekeeper. She is in full view of the candidates. A yellow card will be displayed to indicate that 15 seconds remain in each candidate's allotted time. A red card will be displayed to indicate time has elapsed. The candidates have been reminded to finish promptly. As I remind all candidates, statements and responses to questions shall remain pertinent to the office and issues. Candidates are asked to maintain an appropriate regard for polite civic dialogue. Remarks of a personalized or abusive nature are not permitted. Candidates have been asked to silence cell phones and to refrain from using electronic devices other than the one being used to connect to the forum. No recording other than that of the official Washington Township Public Schools is permitted. Thank you for your patience during these preliminary remarks. We can now move ahead to this evening's program. This year, 6 candidates are seeking election to 3 three-year terms on the Washington Township Board of Education. Their names, in ballot order, are Denise Bennis, Cindy Taglienti, Miguel Ramirez, Stacy DeMeo, incumbent, Brian Ellis, incumbent, and Raymond DeNovi, Jr. Candidates Bennis and Taglienti are not participating in tonight's forum. Candidate Taglienti has submitted a statement, which I will read during the opening statement segment of the forum. 90-second opening statements in ballot order will begin with Miguel Ramirez. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So you want me to say a few words about myself?
Yes, you have 75 seconds to say a few words about yourself.
Okay, my name is Miguel Ramirez, and I'm a Washington Township resident for 26 years. My kids, I got three three kids. Two of them graduated from Washington Township High School, and then my other daughter, she went to Catholic school. But it's a pleasure to live in Washington Township. I came to this township because of the school system, because they have a great program here. And I personally, I work in Philadelphia for many non-profit organizations. I'm a childcare advocate. I ran several childcare programs. I helped a lot with the bilingual programs in North Philadelphia, which was very important to have. And at the same time, I did a lot of musical stuff. I have a classical background in music. I did a lot of work with the Philadelphia Orchestra, with the community schools also in Philadelphia. Um, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Our next opening statement will be from Stacy DeMeo. Unmute yourself.
I think I get that by now. My name is Stacy, and I apologize for the hand in front of my mouth, but I literally had some dental work and lost a veneer, which means I lost a tooth right in the front. But this is too important to miss, and I felt the need to be here, so I apologize. I've been a resident here for over 15 years. I have 2 children in the district in middle school. I've worked in education for over 25 years. I started working when I was 5, clearly. So I've been in education, working with special needs students for my entire life, and I've been an advocate for all students, including those with special needs. And I've worked in all aspects of education, from an instructional assistant to a speech therapist to an administrator. And I've enjoyed this past year on the Board of Education. I've learned a lot, and it's been a challenging time, but very rewarding. And I really enjoy what we do and all we have accomplished throughout the past year. Thanks.
And we will move to Brian Ellis for his opening statement.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara. Again, I want to just thank the League of Women Voters and the Washington Township PTO President Council for giving us this forum to share some of our thoughts with the constituents. Having said that, I do want to also thank the other candidates who showed up today, for their dedication to the children of Washington Township. Having said that, again, I'm Brian Ellis. I'm a graduate of Washington Township High School, class of 1995. I have a daughter who graduated in 2018, and I currently have 2 children in the district, one in high school and one in middle school. I've been on the board now for about 2 years, and it's been a very extremely challenging time, but we've managed to persevere because that's what we do here in Washington Township. My background, I have upwards of 18 years experience in higher education. I have a PhD in global leadership, so I'm very tuned into education. I have been my entire professional career, and I look forward to continuing to serve the people of Washington Township for the next 3 years in this Board of Education role. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next opening statement will be from Ray DeNovi. Unmute yourself, please.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the League of Voters and PTAs for sponsoring this event. When it comes to the education and safety of our children, it is extremely important to have board members who are qualified to make the right decisions. My qualifications include 38 years as an educator, 8 years as a teacher, and 32 years as an administrator in the Monroe Township School District. I'm also a former Washington Township Board of Education member, serving 3-year term from 2018 to 2020. During my term, I helped develop budgets that consistently improve the educational programs for our children, as well as numerous safety improvements while keeping the cost of education below the state mandated cap. While on the board, I served as Vice President, Chairman of the IA Committee, and a member of the Budget and Negotiations Committee. I feel I have the sufficient qualifications and experience to make decisions that are in the best interest of our children and the community. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And now I am going to read the statement submitted by Cindy Taglienti. I am a 48-year resident of Washington Township. I graduated from Washington Township High School and have called Township my home since 1973. My husband and I raised 2 children, both attending the Washington Township School District. I am a graduate of Albright College and have worked for over 29 years within New Jersey school districts as a food service manager. My professional experience afforded me the opportunity to learn about various school districts, where I gained considerable knowledge about procedures, policies, and operations of the public school system. Having held leadership roles in my career, my church, and my community, I feel confident that both my personal and professional experience will be an asset as I serve as a Washington Township School Board member. And now we can move on to the question and answer segment of the forum. I have collected questions submitted by the voters in Washington Township, and I have reviewed them for clarity and content. Some of the many questions have been grouped together, and some of the wording has been changed, but I think that we certainly have plenty of questions for the candidates to answer. I will try to ask as many questions on as many topics as possible. Each candidate will have a 75-second opportunity to respond. At my discretion, 30 seconds each will be allowed for rebuttals or continued discussion. Candidate responses to audience questions shall remain pertinent to the office and issues. As we discussed, the yellow card will be held up to indicate that 15 seconds remain in the candidate's allotted time, and the red card will be held up to indicate that time has elapsed. So I have to get out my handy question chart here so I can keep track. And we'll move to the first question. The first question is, do you endorse the district mask mandate? Why or why not? And we will begin with Stacy DeMayo.
Right, thank you. This has clearly been a hot topic we've been involved with. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, because I have a thing telling me to unmute myself. I'm sorry. Okay. Yes, we support the mask mandate. It is the governor's mandate to do so. It has been proven to keep our children safe and to keep the community safe. I think it's our role as a board member to follow state mandates and do what's best for all children. I know a lot of talk is on young children not having much impact, not getting very sick, but they are getting sick, and we need to keep our whole community safe. I like to keep abreast of research out there that may change mandates or inform a change. But as of right now, we need to wear masks. And quite frankly, I put my kids in bubble wrap and duct tape to get them to school. I think it's the priority that our kids are in school learning. The difference between last year and this year as a parent is huge. They need to be in school, and we need to do whatever we can to support and make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next response will be from Ray DeNovi. And please unmute yourself.
As a former educator, I can remember classrooms where children were very close to one another, playing with one another, socializing with one another. I believe masks are important for their safety, as well as the safety of their family members, their grandparents, and so forth. I mean, they could contact COVID and bring it home to a loved one who may not survive like they can because they're children. But also the vaccine mandate, vaccines for children have not been approved. And until such time, I believe the board has to act on the safety of the children. And therefore, I think the mask mandate is a good one.
Thank you. Our next is Brian Ellis.
Yeah, I think, the past 18 months have been a challenge for everyone, and the mask mandate, unfortunately, was something that was necessary in order to get our kids back to school, this past September. As a board member, as a sitting board member, we need to understand that this was an executive order. And as board members, we need to uphold the policy and ethics of these positions. And in doing that, I do support the mask mandate. Quite frankly, I think over the past 18 months, the one thing that really stood out to me was the importance of protecting those around you. I think as individuals, we do have individual rights to choose. However, part of that right, encompasses, protecting others around us. And there are students within our schools that are immune compromised. And I think having a mask mandate is allowing us to protect those kids as well. So I do support the mask mandate. And again, this was the executive order given by the government, the governor's office. Thank you.
Thank you. And Miguel Ramirez on the mask mandate question. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
You're muted.
Can you hear me? I hear an echo. Well,
Is there something we can do about the echo?
It looks like he may be on here twice. Is he logged in
are
on his
on
phone?
twice. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
think that's
why.
the echo.
I don't know if Jason from IT can fix this. You're muted. You're muted, and I think what we need to do is figure out why you're on twice and why you're echoing.
Miguel, do you have your phone and your computer on? Is it a
No,
phone? Do you have a phone connection and a computer connection?
it's off. But to make it, can you hear me now?
No, you're echoing. Are you sure you don't have more than one device connected to this?
Oh, that's it. Straight to the computer. How about now?
No.
Yeah. My phone is off. Well, to make it simple, I'm 100% on the mask. Okay.
Thank you. I'm wondering if, Jason, if you can remove the extra Miguel Ramirez icon, the one that just has his initials and not his face.
It doesn't separate the two. I don't know how he got on here, but let me just try to dump that one. Miguel, if you get kicked out, just rejoin, please.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, now, Miguel, can you try to unmute yourself and we'll see if you're still echoing? You have to unmute yourself. Miguel, can you unmute yourself? You're muted. You need to unmute yourself. Miguel Ramirez, wave your hand and tell me you can. Okay, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Can't hear you. You're on mute. No.
Can you hear me now? You know what? I'll just step out and you keep going with the meeting. That's fine.
All right. Actually, we can hear you. You're all right now. Stay the way you are.
Okay.
you have anything else you'd like to say about the mask mandate?
I just want to say that it's very important that we follow the CDD rules, and also that we must protect the children and the staff at the school system, and that this is a worldwide problem, and there are many wrong resources that people are listening to. So we have to follow the president, the government, and the Board of Education, and the CDCs to make sure that we're going the right way moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's move on to the second question. Discuss your position on student mental health, pandemic related and otherwise, and whether or not you would advocate for additional supports and services. We will begin this round with Ray DeNovi. And don't forget to unmute yourself.
I think it's extremely important that we have support for all students, not only for problems that we've had with COVID, but students are facing a lot of mental concerns. We find it very early when youngsters are very depressed, could be by home situations, it could be what's happening in school, they may be having problems. I believe that we have to address mental health. It's extremely important. It does factor into the learning process. Children who have mental health issues generally do not perform well in school. And as they grow older, these mental issues do not go away by themselves. Support is definitely needed. More guidance counselors, more SAC counselors are necessary in order to help our children be able to become a productive member of our society.
Thank you. And the same question to Brian Ellis.
Yeah, just to be clear, I 100% support, supporting our students with mental health challenges. Quite frankly, I think it's one of the largest challenges that we face as a society, and as a school district and as a school board. So I'm in complete agreement that any and all resources we as a Board of Education can make available to those students to make sure that we support them as these mental health challenges present themselves, are really vested in, and we make sure that we can support students in that realm. So to answer your question, Barbara, yes, I'm in 100% support of additional support around mental health and mental health challenges that face our young people.
Okay. Miguel Ramirez is next to speak on this issue, and just don't forget to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I believe I'm 100% for mental health. Mental health comes in all kinds of level, and every child in Washington Township should have access to mental health in any language, because mental health is a worldwide problem too.
Thank you. Last on this question is Stacy DeMeo.
Okay, as with everybody else, of course, I support mental health. Mental health was a concern and an issue before COVID. Unfortunately, COVID has only made that even more of a serious issue. With the Board of Ed, I help our district get a mental health grant to help support our students. Our students' mental health needs need to be met before their academic needs can be met. So we need to help our students be secure, get the support they need, and be as whole as they can be. We really need to push mental health and support our school district in getting our students the support that they need. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. To what extent are you concerned about the 2020 school year, learning loss, and standardized test scores that reflect a year of remote learning? Do you recommend additional academic supports, and what would they be? On this question, we begin with Brian Ellis.
Yeah, I think even me in my professional profession in higher education, learning loss, it's a real thing. I can tell you one thing that we did in higher education was for our incoming class, because we knew that they suffered with learning loss, was we created wraparound sections for our incoming students. I think wraparounds would be a way for us as a community and as a district to really support those students who may have experienced learning loss. I think there's very creative ways that we can do that. There's been a ton of funding through the CARES Act and other opportunities that were supported by the government that would allow us to do these types of activities. So for me, I think the creation of wraparound sections to kind of help those students who have struggled with learning loss is one avenue that we can take and we should be taking.
Thank you. Next, Miguel Ramirez.
Yes, I'm 100% too for the help in this area. I know in Philadelphia there were a lot of children that didn't even have access to the internet, and that was sad, and it drove them way back behind. So I feel that in Washington Township we have to have a system that checks itself to make sure that the kids are meeting the needs and the guidelines for the school needs.
Thank you. And now to Stacy DeMeo. Unmute yourself first. You did.
I'm learning. I'm a quick learner.
Okay.
So, already through CARES Act, like Brian said, with the administration has put in a lot of support and basic skills instruction and intervention for our students to look at learning loss. I spoke with administration regarding the need for frequent in-class assessments to see where our kids are and see where the loss is, so we can have direct instruction and get the kids up to where they need to be. I think wraparound sessions is a great idea, Brian, regarding getting that extra support for our students. And again, it's a real thing, and I think we're all in this together, and every district we're all in the same boat, and I think we have to also show compassion for our children, because we put where the finish line is. So I think we just might have to move a little bit to help our kids get to where they need to be. And I think our schools need to understand that it may take some of our kids time to get there, but we will through the team at Washington Township.
Thank you. Last on this question, Ray DeNovi.
As a former board member, I had the opportunity to work with a terrific teaching staff, administration, support staff, and the entire community, including PTAs. Their support was also very beneficial. I know from my experience on the board that we have teachers, administrators, supervisors who will plan appropriate educational programs for the children who are lacking. It will start with basic testing to see where they're at, and then design an educational program, individual educational program, for those children who need additional support because of the lack of schooling during COVID.
Thank you. Question number 4, we're still talking about student achievement here. What recommendations would you make to raise the overall level of student achievement in the district? And we will begin this round with Miguel Ramirez.
I really feel that parents need to be very supportive of their kids and encourage them and push them to achieve their best. And also because the school district is changing, there's more diversity now, which I'm very proud of that, because that's something that you never seen in Washington Township for years. So I'm glad to see that that there's diversity there, and that all children should have access to a great education in Washington Township.
Thank you. And now to Stacy DeMeo.
Okay, yes, there is an achievement gap. When you look at the high school scores, we have a lot of AP students. We excel at the high school level, but there are gaps in language arts and math from elementary up. I think one of the tasks that the Director of Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging will be looking at is looking at test scores, looking at areas of need, and looking to see if there is some type of data that she can pull to see if there are pockets of students or populations or schools, whatever it is, that we can then drive down instruction and meet kids where they are and give them the instruction to see where the gap is. If it's working for some and not for others, there's something missing. And we need to look at the data and look at the students and see what exactly these students need. And, you know, she will be able to help us do that and hopefully improve those test scores.
Next on the question of raising the overall level of student achievement is Ray DeNovi.
Again, as a former board member, I was involved with the IA committee. Basically, the IA committee takes a look at overall programs and student assessment. It's extremely important to gather data. Data is gathered through testing and also through one-to-one contact with teacher. You can't leave out the teacher in developing a plan for helping those students who are at risk. So I am all in favor of continuing the way the township has structured their professional development and preparing teachers to meet the challenges that we face as our society changes. So I am very much in favor of continual assessment and continued improvement to make sure that every child has an equal education.
Thank you. Last on this question is Brian Ellis.
Yeah, for me, this question, and Stacy alluded to this, it comes to an equity issue, making sure that, all students have an opportunity to learn at a very high level. And how do you do that? Again, I'm going to go right back to what my counterpart said here, which is data. All right. I mean, I think these decisions need to be data driven. I think as a district, we need to, clearly collect the data. We need to assess the data, analyze the data, and then based upon, what that data tells us, it drives the decisions as far as what we can recommend. So again, it comes down to equity and being able to collect data. It's difficult for me to kind of give you some very tangible recommendations right now without knowing what the data tells us. But I think that those would be the steps that I would take, that the board should take to make sure that we address the needs of all of our students.
Thank you. We'll move to the next question. Discuss any specific concerns you might have about the current curriculum and how you would address them. And we'll begin with Stacy DeMeo. Unmute, please.
It said mute. It's weird. I'm not sure what's going on, but I apologize. I don't have any concerns with the curriculum. We have it online right now. You can look at it. It is research-based. It is guided by state mandates and state standards. New Jersey learning standards need to be met, and that's just what we have to do. I think even as a mom of 2 middle school students, I feel like my students are getting a well-rounded education. I like the language arts program. I wasn't happy with the math curriculum, but we did just approve a new math program. So now I can say I'm happy with the curriculum. With everyday math, I probably would have had a different answer. But the math curriculum we have now, I think is fantastic and will also help bridge that achievement gap that we talked about in the previous question. I think it looks at more basic math facts. It provides more practice, more instruction, detailed instruction based on student weaknesses. So I think I'm happy with the curriculum at this time.
Thank you. Next on this question is Ray DeNovi.
That's a difficult question to answer without data. You have your current programs in place. You won't know whether or not those programs are successful for all children until you start collection of data. Just like Stacy alluded to, she's satisfied with the programs that are going on right now because as a current board member, she knows that the data is stating that the programs are working. The continuation of the gathering of data will enable the Board of Education and administration to make changes to the curriculum when they are needed, either to improve the teaching for individual students or to make sure that we are teaching the state standards as well. In fact, the state standards and the country standards as well, so that all children can compete once they get out of our school system and move on to further, to higher education.
Thank you. And to Brian Ellis.
Yeah, Barbara, I think the way that the question was phrased, and if I recall correctly, it was concerns with the current curriculum. Quite frankly, I don't have any. One thing I can tell you is that the curriculum, we've been very transparent as a board. I think we've been very transparent as a district. The curriculum is available online for all to see. To Stacy's point, I think one accomplishment of the current board was a new math curriculum, getting rid of everyday math, which is something I think we're all extremely proud of. But, I have, again, the curriculum as is guided at the state level and is transparent, and people can see exactly what's being taught to their sons and daughters. So I really don't have any concerns. And again, like anything else, curriculum, it evolves. And I think, and that's what makes education so special, right? Because it's not stagnant, it evolves and we continue to learn. It's an ongoing process. And again, I think as a board, as a district, we'll stay transparent in doing that.
Thank you. And last on this question is Miguel Ramirez.
I personally like the curriculum they have now, but the problem is that every year the curriculum changes a lot. So we need to make sure that we hear what the teachers are saying, because the teachers are the one that spends the most time with the kids. And it's very important that we hear and listen to what the teacher says, the way they're teaching the new material, because that makes the difference.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next question. What role do you believe the schools do and should play in the teaching of civic and social awareness? And we will begin with Ray DeNovi.
I think it's extremely important that we teach children to get along with one another, to learn about what they need to do in order to be successful in our society, to work together, to basically have feelings that they're all working together for a common cause and that they should get along with one another. And I think in general, I think bringing in character education into the schools is extremely important. Having students recognize that they are all equal is extremely important. And I just feel that Washington Township Public Schools has addressed this through their equity programs. And I feel that we're on the right track, but there's always room for improvement. But I feel that at this point in time, the children are where they need to be in order to become good society members.
Thank you. On to Brian Ellis on this question. Unmute yourself, please. Oh,
Yeah, I think the school plays a extremely important role in social and civic engagement. Having said that, I think the primary role starts at home. You know, I think what happens in school is we can help reinforce some of those lessons learned. I'm extremely proud of what's been happening at Washington Township since I've been affiliated with the board. You know, I know there's an amazing campaign called No Place for Hate, which is, you know, it just rolls off the tongue. And I think that's something that we all can be extremely proud of. And I think social and civic engagement activities like that, they do have a place in school. And, you know, I'm proud to be part of it. You know, I currently have a child in Bunker Hill, and they have this whole, you know, this being a bulldog philosophy and what that encompasses. And again, as a parent, I think those types of values and trust with our educators and our teachers is something that we should really be embracing and making sure, again, they can reinforce those lessons learned at home.
Thank you. And next on this question is Miguel Ramirez.
Can you please repeat the question one more time?
I'd be happy to. What role do you believe the schools do and should play in the teaching of civic and social awareness?
Okay, I'm a strong believer that Facebook and the Twitter needs to get out of the school system, and also that we need to continue with the arts program, with the sports program, because children will grow their character through that area too, and also that we must teach the kids the different culture values from all the other kids inside the school, because there's mixed kids now. So it's important that we teach the respect and the culture and the awareness, and also the teachers, they need to follow that too, to make the difference in the child.
Thank you. And last on this question is Stacy DeMeo.
I think it would be impossible to for schools not to play a part in civic and social awareness. Our kids don't live in a bubble. Our children, our students know way more than we even know they know, with the unfortunate influence of social media. I think the goal is to teach our children to be good, kind, loving people that are accepting, that creates an environment for all students to learn and feel safe, because students will not learn unless they feel safe. And I think character education and social justice clubs and things like that, it is creating a warm environment where kids are accepted and where they can learn. To think that I wrote it down, social awareness, it wouldn't play a part in school, that would be impossible, because, we are educating children to be productive and strong citizens. And in order to do that, is our children, our students have to be good, kind human beings, and hard workers too, of course.
Thank you. This next question is about sexual health education. The question is about the curriculum. Is it age appropriate, and should various faith traditions be taken into account when teaching about sexuality and gender-related issues? And we're going to begin with Brian Ellis.
Could you repeat that question one more time, Barbara? I'm sorry.
Yes. Discuss the sexual health education curriculum. Is it age appropriate, and should various faith traditions be taken into account when teaching about sexuality and gender-related issues?
Yeah, I think, the first part of that question, I think what I would like to say is, again, the curriculum, we're very transparent. The board has been transparent, and all the curriculum is posted online. Having said that, I think it would be unreasonable for us to think that, what's currently happening is not age appropriate. So, we're not teaching first and second graders things that we'd be teaching kids in high school or even those in middle school. So I do think age appropriateness is a key factor here. But having said that, should we take these things into consideration? Absolutely, yes. We should also take in consideration, what you said, religious beliefs, because, one thing as part of what we're doing at the at the board and at the school district regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging is a key part of all of this. So I think that's why I was so thrilled that we were able to hire a DEI director, because we can have an expert help us navigate all these gray areas. And I think those types of things will be considered as we make decisions as a board and as a district moving forward.
Thank you. Miguel Ramirez is next on this question.
Okay, I think that in the elementary school, they should have like a mild introduction course on that. And junior high school and high school level, they should actually teach it, on their level, because sex in many homes is not discussed, and it's embarrassing, and that's the same for many cultures. So I think that's important that the schools, the district, teach sexuality in a proper educational way, because of the changing of the genders and all that stuff. We have to make sure that all kids are protected and also educated in that area.
Okay, thank you. Next is Stacy DeMeo. Can you unmute yourself, please?
I'm hitting it, it's just not working. When we're looking at sexual education, of course, we have to look at grade level and age, but our curriculum is guided by the state. So of course, that's taken into consideration. So, I mean, I think, it's online, it's transparent. There's nothing in there that some social media says that's in there. There's a lot of propaganda and untruth out there as to what is being taught in the classrooms, but it's right online to see. And as far as a place for faith in schools, I think we've talked before, I think there's a place for everything in schools, which is the purpose of diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. Faith specifically, I think, you don't often look at specific faith beliefs, but I think we need to look at everything, and we need to make sure that our students are educated. And again, what we learn in school can be used as a springboard for discussion at home. So, if you're involved with your children and you see what they're learning in school, you can take that conversation further at home. And I think, I don't think what some people think is happening in the schools is. I think it is very clear what's included and what needs to be, and that's all on, online via our website and from the Department of Ed.
Thank you. And last on this question, Ray DeNovi.
As it's already been indicated that the curriculums are online, but if a parent sees something coming home, their children brings home, and then they have concern about it, there's an easy solution to that. They should contact the teacher and let the teacher explain exactly how they're going to teach that particular concept. If they're not satisfied with that, then they should go to the building administration. There is a chain of command that you follow if you have concerns about the education within the classroom. And normally, most times, once you meet with the teacher, and the teacher may even show you the type of handouts that they will be using in order to teach that specific topic, or the administrator can show you exactly what the goal of the lesson is. In many cases, the parents are 100% satisfied. But there is an administrative process where you can go and question and get answers to all your questions.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. It seems similar to another question, but I think that there's definitely room for you to address this in different ways. How would you address the wide disparity in achievement among Washington Township students? And we're going to begin with Miguel Ramirez.
You're asking me about the program at the school district. How's it
The
going?
question is, how would you address the wide disparity in achievement among Washington Township students?
Well, I feel that Washington Township, there's a lot of changes. Also through the curriculum, and there are times that we're not going to like the changes, but we have to go through the changes. And eventually, we will all meet, and everything will go well.
Okay, thank you. Next to Stacy DeMayo. I'm sorry, you're still muted.
I'm hitting it every time. I'm not
Well,
sure
maybe,
why, but
well,
maybe I'm getting
hit
muted.
it twice before you start.
I think I will. Sorry about that. I think we need to look at data and look at where discrepancy is and see if we can find a trend or a pattern, and then direct instruction at that, and have very targeted instruction to not only target the skills that are lacking, but maybe a population that is lacking. So until we have the data and we can see exactly what's happening and where there's discrepancies, I think that's what needs to happen. We do have the preschool program that started, which I think will help because we're having students in school earlier, and early intervention is always key. So I think hopefully we'll see some growth there, getting students instruction earlier on in their educational career. And then also looking at data and looking at assessments and seeing where the weaknesses are, and then targeting instruction to meet that and the population that needs it.
Thank you. Next is Ray DeNovi.
That's a question. You'd have to look at the validity of the question, that there's a wide range. What is wide? I mean, that's kind of a, it could be from first grade learning level up to a fourth grade learning level, where fourth graders are learning at the first grade level. That's a wide range. But there's also individual ranges within the classroom, and that's why they individualize instruction for students. It's all part of the curriculum, and it's been stated over and over this evening. It's data driven. When we receive the data, we take a look at what programs are necessary in order to help children learn. Once we have that data, and once the teachers start to work with those children, then we look at those students who have some deficiencies, and we have programs that deal with those deficiencies. We have additional support staff that work with children. So to make a general statement that there's a wide range, I think that's quite ambiguous. To be perfectly honest with you, all children deserve an equal education. And through data-driven approaches, that is being met in Washington Township Public Schools. At least
Thank
it
you.
was. Oh, I'm sorry, I got a red light.
Your time's up. And Brian Ellis on this question.
Yeah, I think I'm going to piggyback on what the other candidates talked about, and it's really data. I think everything that we do should be data driven. Period. Having said that, this would help us identify what I would call variables as to why some of this may be happening, and then it's up to us as parents, as administrators, as boards of educations, to really be thoughtful and develop creative solutions to kind of minimize some of those gaps. But again, I think the starting point would be data, and then again, identifying what those variables may be for us to address.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. Discuss why you do or do not endorse the mission, the work, and the direction of the Equity Council. If not, what alternative or alternatives would you recommend? And we begin with Stacy DeMayo.
Okay, am I good?
Yes.
Okay. I absolutely support the work of the Director of Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Officer. I mean, on so many levels, she is supporting our students emotionally. She'll be supporting them academically. She'll be helping us navigate a pretty complicated scenario. We want to create an environment where every single student feel safe, secure, and can learn. And quite frankly, we all need help with that. It's a difficult situation. I think she's doing a tremendous job. She's been out at the school. She's been gathering information. She's collecting data, as we've discussed, as being super important and integral in our student success. And I think she is going to be beyond important and, again, integral in watching our students grow and getting us the information that we need in order to promote a safe and healthy and effective learning environment for all of our students. So yes, I 100% support her.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, the question was the mission, the work, and the direction. But
Okay.
but I don't know that that would have changed your answer, but we can come back to it once everybody else has
Okay.
spoken if you have more to say.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Ray DeNovi.
I totally support the direction of the Equity Committee. I think it's quite simple. Every child deserves to be treated equally, and every child deserves an equal education. And I don't think you need to say anything more about the topic.
Thank you. To Brian Ellis now.
Hey Ray, that was beautiful, and I totally agree. I think yes, I support the mission, I support the work, I support the action. Period. I think for me, I think I started this session by saying that I was a graduate of the class of 1995 in Washington Township, and being a Black male, I've had my challenges in this district. Quite frankly, I do recall one recent Board of Education meeting where we had a person who made a comment that in their 28 years they've never ever felt any form of discrimination, not belonging, inclusion. And I would say to that person, kudos to you. But that experience has not been the same for every child in this district. And the work that this equity committee is doing is making sure that there's equity across every last student, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, disability. Everybody deserves an experience, an enriching experience, one that we all can be proud of as a district. So absolutely, I support the mission of this group.
Thank you. Miguel Ramirez on this question.
I agree with Brian too. He's right. Every child should get a fair education and the right of a fair education. And Board of Education should be responsible for all the areas that education covers in that school system. And I will take it up a notch. I will have on the high school level the kids that are below grades or having difficulty in certain courses. I will have a buddy system where you have the upper high school kids come down to the junior high school kids and help them, because many times the understanding is much better from student to student. And also the administration, they need to hear what the teacher says. That's very important.
Thank you. We'll move to the next question, which is, as a board member, how would you work to secure the rights and safety and promote the acceptance of students who identify as LGBTQ+? And we will begin with Ray DeNovi.
I think my previous response addresses this question as well. Every child has a right for an equal education, and every child has the right to be treated equally. It doesn't matter whether they're, Black, white, Hispanic, obese, wear glasses. I mean, these are all characteristics in the past that children have been teased, and teasing can be very detrimental to the learning process. So therefore, again, every single child and adult should be treated equally.
Thank you. And Brian Ellis.
Yeah, for me, I think it's quite simple. I know a couple maybe about 12 months ago, I worked with a group of parents, and it was all we created this program called Listen, Learn, and Lead, right? And I think as board members, that's what we'll need to do. We need to listen, understanding the challenges that faces this community. We need to learn about these challenges and how can we be champions and allies for this group. And then as board members, we need to lead. It's really that simple. My 3 Ls: listen, learn, and lead. That's how we can support this community and other marginalized communities within our school district.
Thank you. Miguel Ramirez on this question.
Can you repeat the question one more time? I'm sorry.
Yes. How would you work to secure the rights and safety and promote the acceptance of students who identify as LGBTQ plus?
Those students have the right as any of us should have. And if there's some difficult times, we need to support them and be there and report that. And if you're a staff person that's totally against that, then you don't need to be in the Washington Township School District. You need to leave. Because we must protect all the children, no matter what sex they are. It doesn't make the difference. Because it's a new time now. So we have to go with the flow. To you.
Thank you. And last on this question, Stacy DeMeo.
I think, it's been a common thread throughout tonight's question and answer on the need for equality, equity, belonging. All of our students need to feel secure, healthy, safe. And I think the work with the Equity Committee, our new director, and I think a lot of the character education and programs throughout our middle schools and elementary schools is doing just that. I think we just need to lead by example. I need to be accepting. I think we need to show, not just talk, right? We need to put things into action that are showing our support for all of our students, regardless of their, I know the question was about the LGBTQ plus community, but I think we need to show support for our entire student body, regardless of their disability, sexuality, gender, what have you. So I think by supporting programs and just doing what we need to do for our students, and that may change. We have to roll with it, and we have to provide our students what they need as we move forward, because all our kids need to be safe.
Thank you. Next question. The board faces difficult budget decisions annually. At this time, would you foresee a need to exceed the cap, the 2% cap? Can the district achieve a high level of academic excellence within it? And we will begin with Brian Ellis.
Yeah, I think, as a board, I think we've been really proud that we haven't had to exceed that 2% cap over the past couple of years when I've been on the board. Having said that, I think one thing that, people may not be aware of are the opportunities that the board seeks in terms of grants and other funding that would help support some of the things that we like to do. Again, we talked about the preschool grant. That's a big deal. It's something that has kind of, with COVID, that's kind of been swept under the rug. But to kind of secure a grant like that for the district like Washington Township is a huge accomplishment. And that was done through other alternatives as opposed to raising taxes, grants and things of that nature. So as of right now, no, I don't think there's a reason to have to increase that cap at all, but make sure that we avail ourselves to other opportunities for support and funding at the state level, quite frankly.
Okay. Thank you. And Miguel Ramirez, about school budgets.
I will keep it the same. I will increase it. I believe that there's a way that we could do it. We all have to put our minds together and come with a creative solution.
Thank you. And to Stacy DeMeo.
I think, that's one of the biggest challenges as a board member, school district, to find the balance between being fiscally minded while maintaining the instructional programs and support that's needed. We worked hard this year to not exceed that and to make that happen. I don't see any reason why that can't continue. I think we have to be creative. We have to think outside the box. I think we have to just make sure that we're looking at all stakeholders and making sure that everyone gets what they need. So we have to stay within the cap, but we also can't compromise our instruction and our programming. And I think we've done a good job, and there's no reason to think why that couldn't continue. We worked hard, and there were extra budget meetings, and we didn't give up until we got to where we needed to be to not exceed that cap and keep instruction and not lose staff and so on and so forth.
And last on this question, Ray DeNovi.
As I stated in my opening statement, I was a board member for 3 years, and I was on the budget committee. And for those 3 years, I'm proud to say that we came in under cap every year and expanded programs. Not only that, we faced a lot of major crises back then. I think everyone will remember the mercury crisis, where the Board of Education found a way of coming up with $3 million to replace all the gym floors that contained mercury, because the safety of students is paramount. Even with that, we came in under cap. I think as the 2 board members who are here this evening, pretty much the tone of those meetings has stayed the same, because I can remember sitting down, discussing the budget, and remembering how it was very concerning to us that we provided the best education we could, but we had the taxpayer in mind.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question, which is discuss how you would improve communication between the school district and the community, including seeking community input as the board develops policy, and whether or not discussion settings, in addition to the regularly scheduled board meetings, would be appropriate. And we will begin with Miguel Ramirez.
I think it's very important that all residents get informed of what's happening in Washington Township School District, and I believe that any concerns, people should come up to the office and view their point, and as the meetings get bigger, we should the administration and the community needs to work together so we could resolve the different issues that many of us have that don't like.
Thank you. To Stacy DeMeo.
Yes, I think communication is key. I think it's really important. I feel like over the past couple of years, communication has improved across the district. Yes, I do think a town hall type setting would be beneficial, where there could be more discussion between community members and administration or whomever is decided to be at that town hall. Dr. Alexander is in the process of promoting and developing those venues as part of her plan. I think that's her next step. I don't want to speak out of line, but I do know that that is being scheduled, and that is part of the plan. So I do think it is important for the community to have the opportunity to come out and speak and have a back and forth discussion. Of course, they're welcome to come to either board meetings, but I know that a lot of times we can't do a back and forth, or it's not allowed. And that will be beneficial to have conversation and communication, as long as it's respectful and with boundaries. But, I do think that is the next step as far as moving forward regarding communication. So yes, I agree. There needs to be.
Thank you. And to Ray DeNovi.
I think it's obvious that communication is important. When you become a board member, you have mandatory trainings by the New Jersey School Board Association. And there are numerous workshops that you have to attend on keeping the public informed. I think during my 3 years, and as I check on my various board members and what they're doing, they have opened the lines of communication. The website has been developed. I think it's easier to maneuver. There's a lot of information. Remember, if you can't attend a board meeting, all board meetings are televised. And during my last term, we had discussed that possibility of a town hall meeting where we select specific topics. It's not really a board meeting per se, but we select specific topics that have been suggested from parents to give information about, like bring the administration in, have a planned program to answer questions on specific topics that are being generated by the community.
Thank you. And Brian Ellis.
Yeah, I think communication is key. Obviously, we have the monthly meetings. To encourage more community members to come out to those, I think would be something that is welcomed. We talked a little bit earlier about the website and the transparency and the advancements to the website to make sure that people know who we are as far as email addresses and things of the sort. I think we can do a better job promoting that, to be quite honest with you. The other thing I want to talk about too is I think we can really look at the Dr. Alexander and the work that she's doing on the equity committee as being the best practice for getting issues and voices out to the community, albeit the school, the business community, the community in general. So I think using what she's done as the best practices in other areas could be something that we all could learn from. And quite frankly, I'll say this now, I think, maybe it would be cool, and I'll have to kind of run this by the other board members if I'm fortunate enough to be selected for another term, but maybe we could do some type of round robin conference type style thing where we can have, I see a day full of workshops and we can have different areas around curriculum and DEI and just a whole bunch of things to kind of keep everybody informed. That doesn't have to be a formalized board meeting. So I think these are things that we could do.
Thank you. We'll try to get to a couple of more questions if you have the stamina. As a board member, to what extent do you want to be involved as a board representative with committees and coalitions that advocate at the state level on issues of policy and curriculum? Why do you think this is important for local boards of education? And discuss any specific issues you believe need to be addressed. We'll begin with Stacy DeMeo.
That's a good question. I'm a new board member, so I feel like I'm still learning. There's a lot to learn on the board. It's a lot of work. Of course, I think being involved in, like you said, policy and procedure as a board member, I've always been a special education advocate. That's been pretty much my entire life. I'm involved at the state level with special education, not at the government level, but I am involved with Department of Ed meetings and committees regarding that. As far as curriculum and policy, I think I would need to learn more before I stepped up to that level, but I want to give my all to Washington Township. And it's a lot of work. Like I can't do anything like not 150%. So I would never want to overextend myself and go up to a level like that and not be able to give my all to the township I love and live in. So, but of course I'd be willing to work to better our education system here in town.
Thank you. To Ray DeNovi next.
I think it's extremely important that we stay in contact with our neighboring communities throughout the state in order to work together to improve education. We're here to educate all children. That just doesn't mean Washington Township, it means the whole state of New Jersey, because as I indicated before at the New Jersey School Boards Association, board members have to attend certain conferences and informational meetings. Well, the one I like the most is when we got together with various board members from other areas of the state and had dialogue about what practices are working in other districts, where, how they're handling budget issues. And that collaboration is extremely important. You only have so many board members, but when you can reach out to organizations, when you can reach out to other board members from other districts, because we all have similar problems. And there's a lot of that back and forth that goes on and it's very beneficial and helpful when you're making decisions.
Thank you. And to Brian Ellis.
Yeah, I think relationship building's critical, right? To Ray's point, he talked a lot about the other local communities and boards, and even at the state level. I think that's critical. In higher education, there's no need to, we use this a lot. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. So if you can identify best practices that are happening, why not be able to, develop relationships and communicate with these individuals that are doing things really well in different areas? Particularly at the state level, one thing that I'm proud of is, the current board, when the mask mandate came down, we did ask for clarity. We as a board, got together and produced a letter, and we sent it to Trenton just to make sure that we got clarity so we could properly address some of the concerns that were shared, with us at a board meeting. So those types of relationships and that type of communication is key in everything we do as board members.
Thank you. And Miguel Ramirez.
Yes, I think it's very important that we all get involved, especially all the board members should get an opportunity to attend those state meetings, the government meetings, and also the city meetings too, because together we could all make a difference. And it's very important that we come up with new ideas and new ways to communicate and share with each other and grow together.
Thank you. On one last question, several people wrote this question, so I believe it's you can probably answer it fairly quickly. What contributions and endorsements have you received? And we'll begin with Ray DeNovi.
Basically, I'm just put my name on the ballot and I'm running. I haven't received any endorsements other than the accolades that I received as a former principal. I guess they're endorsements when my school won the Character Education Award for the state of New Jersey 3 times and the National Character Education Award. I guess that's an endorsement. But no, I'm running to serve the community.
Thank you. And to Brian Ellis.
Yeah, no endorsements, no funding received. I guess if you say endorsement, I can look at 2 of my fellow candidates here with Stacy and Ray. But other than their endorsement, I haven't received anything officially from any group organization.
Oh, okay. And no contributions?
And no contributions, that's correct.
Okay. Next to Miguel Ramirez.
I received none at all. Hopefully I might get in. This will be my 3rd try, 15 years. So, and this is my 3rd time, and it'll be the last time. So if I get in, great. If not, I move on.
Thank you. And last on this, did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Okay. Last on this question, Stacy DeMeo.
And there's been no endorsements of made. I believe we are fundraising and gotten some personal contributions, which is handled by our financial manager, but no endorsements or anything, such as that.
Thank you. And I think that will close the question and answer portion of the forum. And we'll move on to 60-second closing statements in reverse ballot order. We will begin with Ray DeNovi.
I think the community has had the opportunity to listen to some of the candidates running for the board. I hope you cast your vote for the candidates that showed they're up for the challenge. It's quite easy to put out lawn signs and send out literature, but to actually attend one of these sessions and be put under pressure so that the community can see how you will react as a board member under pressure is more important than literature that's being sent out and all those placards that are all over the place that people don't even show up for Meet the Candidates night.
Brian Ellis for 60 seconds.
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to thank the fellow candidates and you, Barb, for being a great moderator. But having said that, again, I've had the pleasure of serving on the board for about 2 years now. And trust me, it's been a challenging 2 years or 18 months, with the pandemic and just some of the social unrest. But it's something that I don't take lightly at all. I'm up for the challenge, obviously, because I signed up for it again. But one thing I do want to be mindful of is just some of the accomplishments that we have had over the past 2 years. So listen to some of these. We had a safe return to in-school learning from the COVID pandemic. The free full-day pre-K, the new math program to replace everyday math. Keeping our taxes low while developing outstanding programming for our students. Kindergarten classes moved into all of the 6 elementary schools. So we've done a lot in such a during a pandemic, which I'm extremely proud of, and I'm proud of the board for accomplishing with over the past 18 months.
Thank you. And now to Stacy DeMayo for 60 seconds.
And thank you to the League of Women's Voters and the President's Council. I've been in education for 25 years in all different aspects. It gives me the ability to make the most informed decision for all of our students and stakeholders. And like Brian said, we've accomplished a lot over the past year, and I'm proud of what we've done. And I would hope to continue to do more for all of our students and work for the stakeholders of Washington Township.
Thank you. And Miguel Ramirez, 60 seconds for a closing statement.
Okay. I've been around in the early childhood field for 30 years in Philadelphia and New York, and I was involved in many areas, and I did a lot of work in the Hispanic community in all levels. And now that I'm retired, I want to give back to Washington Township because they did a great job on my own kids. And if I get picked, I'm the type that gets involved with the art program, the music program, the science program. I go to the schools, I talk to the teachers, I get involved with the kids. And my biggest thing that I want to do if I get elected, I would like to create a student advisory board in each school, because sometimes the kids have the answers to the stuff that sometimes we really don't know. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the President's Council, I wish to thank the Board of Education candidates for participating this evening, and the Washington Township Public Schools IT Department for their patience in recording this forum. The League of Women Voters urges all registered voters to exercise their right to vote during this year's general election, scheduled on Tuesday, November 2nd. We want to remind voters that there are 3 ways to vote in the upcoming election. 1, vote by mail. Registered voters can apply for a vote by mail ballot by following the instructions found at vote.nj.gov or by contacting their county clerk. 2, in-person voting. This new option enables all registered voters to cast their ballot in person using a voting machine during a 9-day period prior to Election Day. You can now choose to vote in person when it's most convenient for your schedule. In-person early voting locations will be open from Saturday, October 23rd through Sunday, October 31st. Hours will be Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. No appointment is necessary. The third way to vote is at your polling place on Election Day. Vote in person from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 2nd. The answers to most election questions and ballot question analysis are available at vote411.org or on the League of Women Voters of New Jersey website. That's www.lwvnj.org. If you need to speak with someone to answer your election question, please call the League of Women Voters of New Jersey at 1-800 792-VOTE. Remember, we are all equal at the ballot box, but only if we vote. Thank you again, and good night.